You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to a happier Achtung Millwall than maybe we've had for a little while. Joining me to chew over the cud of last night's excellent 2-0 win down there at Plymouth. Very special guest. All the way from Perth in Western Australia. I nearly put on my worst Australian accent for him. It's Jimmy Webb. How you doing, Jim?
Yeah, good, Nick. Thanks a lot. Yeah, Perth, Australia, but currently sitting at my dad's house in Abbey Wood.
That's a long way. It's a long way to come. And from the western reaches of England, the man himself, it's Mr. Fizz. It's Neil. How you doing, mate?
Well, I've had worse evenings watching Millwall play.
We're going to be chewing over last night's mixed bag of a result. I mean, we'll come on to that in a moment, listeners. But as you all well know, for each show this season, we are doing a question by our partners for the season, punditgames.co.uk. Wonderful board game. Christmas is coming. Check out their website. I can recommend it. It's a great football quiz game. You score goals by answering successive questions correctly if you can. And it's great fun. And as we've done in each edition, we try and give a taste of the question. So this is today's question. I bet these two get this reasonably quickly, put a bit of pressure on them. This is an England in the 90s related question. And the question goes, this player is a shoo-in in the Arsenal back line. This fullback was steady, solid and left everything on the pitch. To those of us who are a little younger, he's more recognisable for criticising Manchester United most weeks on Match of the Day. His career took in 458 appearances for Arsenal between 88 and 2002, 25 goals. Previously with Stoke City, 71 appearances, 5 goals. Bury, 45 appearances, 6 goals. Chester City, I didn't know this, 51 appearances for Chester. And started out at Burnley in 82-84 with 4 appearances. Played for the English national team 22 times, scored 1 goal between 1990 and 1999. An Arsenal hero and Stoke before that. I think everyone around this table is of an age to get the answer to that. But we will give the answer to that particular question at the end of the show if you haven't got it already. I think that's going to be younger listeners who might not know of his playing career. But we'll come back to that later on. Jim, let's start off with you, mate. I was looking at this fixture at the start of the season thinking that would be a trip I'd like to make. I've never been to Home Park in Plymouth. Have you been down there before, mate, in previous times? You ever been to Home Park?
Yeah, I think yesterday we were trying to work out. I reckon that's probably about the 10th time
I've
been there. Yeah, so I've got my wife went to university down there.
Right, okay.
So she's when we were living here, and she's had loads of friends live down in the West Country. So we'd often pop down, and for some reason, I always managed to do it when Plymouth were at home, so she could go off with her girly mates, and all the husbands would go just watch the football on a Saturday afternoon. So yeah, I think that was about number 10 for me. But I've seen Millwall there. I think that's the 4th time I've seen Millwall there.
Right, okay. It was one that I had in mind. I'd love to have gone to. Then they made it a midweek away day, and I thought, well, that's the end of that. I'll have to watch it on the Millwall TV stream. I mean, Neil, last night's team, I must admit, when I saw the team announcement pre-game, my heart slightly sank because I didn't see much that was changing what had been a fairly depressing run of results lately for the Lions. Apart from Wes Harding coming in for Murray Wallace in the back line, it was fairly uninspiring, I thought, to start off with. But I mean, the first half was a bit of a back, on the back foot. But I thought, defensively speaking, we just about held on for grim death last night, didn't we?
Well, we were solid throughout, I thought. Yeah, I think defending-wise. Well, it was a strange kind of game. They almost play a game of Strictly Come Passing, don't they?
Yeah.
And, they pass it very quickly.
They do.
And if they can rip you open, you're absolutely shafted. But we stuck to our task quite doggedly last night. I thought the side, when he started it, was the right one. He needed to bring in Danny McNamara because I think that
Norton Cuffy.
Yeah, would actually have ripped Norton Cuffy a new one down that side. I think there would have been too much space in behind.
Yeah.
I think he looked at the game And we spoke about it on WhatsApp, I think, before the game, where it's Gary Rowett at his best, really, isn't it? He's getting flack from all sides, and he'll suddenly pull out a formation and a performance that will get his arse out the fire. And that's what he did last night.
He did. I mean, Jim, you were at the game on Saturday. I couldn't make it down to the Den Saturday, but I've been making a joke about the man they couldn't hang online. I think Gary Rowett must be one of these frustrating people that does my head in, that has to be forced and dragged to a solution when most of us are calling for similar kinds of choices, but somehow he has to be dragged there. But, you know, the contrast between Saturday and last night was quite immense, mate, wasn't it?
Well, it was, but Fizz, I don't know whether you realised, but I was like listening, and after I think it was about 10 minutes, and the first chance of Rowett, your football is shit, started coming out. I think there was just like a dodgy pass or something, and as Fizz said, they're incredibly fast, Plymouth, and hassling, and we weren't getting any play, and we just seemed to be resorting to type, you know, hoofing it and hoping the best again. And yeah, the first chance, I looked at the clock 10 minutes into the game, and I was like, some of these people, I reckon, are here purely to hope that Mill will get tonked and that's the end of Rowett, you know. So
yeah.
And then as Fizz says, you know, they had lots of huff, they had lots of puff, but they didn't have much effort at the end of the day, really. A couple of shots that Bart's saved, you know, reasonably comfortably, because he didn't really have to do a diving stop. A lot of the shots went straight at him. So yeah, lots of effort for Plymouth Argyle, but very, very fast, very fast.
I mean, I was struck. I mean, obviously, I was watching on stream last night, and annoyingly, if you're listening, Carl, your voice was about half a second ahead of the video. So every time any incident happened, you kind of got a half-second pre-warning that they either missed or when we scored, it was all right, I suppose. But for some reason,
welcome to my world in Australia. That's what it's like. That's what it's like.
I haven't got the lifestyle. I haven't got the place. I haven't got all the plus points there, Jim.
Button last night, Nick. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we've to our folly, we haven't got the red button. We've got Now TV, which is, again, I don't recommend to anyone out there.
Cheap version of Sky you've got, Nick, isn't it?
Oh, mate. Anyway, I was actually, I paid a tenner to listen to Carl on the Mill TV stream, and as I say, it was annoyingly ahead. But that aside, I thought Plymouth. Had a couple of shots almost from the off. I mean, I think it was inside the first or second minute. Bart was batting away shots. And I thought he did quite well across a half where they do move the ball quickly, Plymouth, and I thought they could look quite dangerous if they get that early goal. Then they look like the kind of side that would turn it up from there. But we held them at bay. There's another little spell about the 25-minute mark where they had a few shots, which again we kept out. But largely speaking, as the half wore along, boys, I thought we did an increasingly strong job of looking in control. Maybe we weren't threatening too much, but we certainly didn't look terribly in danger. And I think that's Rowett. That's Rowett ball, isn't it, Neil? I mean, that you know, the defensive tightness that's gone missing suddenly came back to him last night.
Yeah, one thing I would like to pick up on was that when we were on top in the first half, and we did have 2 or 3 pretty good chances, didn't we? But
We did. Yeah.
the only thing that we were lacking was a bit of end product. And I thought that we could have been 1 or 2 up by half time if we'd have actually had a man in the box who was about 8 foot tall, because that's where the crosses were going, weren't they? They're going straight over everyone, was going from right to left, left to right kind of thing. And I think Ian Fleming completely fluffed his lines on the edge of the box, didn't he, once? But it was a much tighter Millwall defence display, as you say, Nick. And I think that Mr. Harding had an awful lot to do with that. I thought he was outstanding last night. Absolutely brilliant.
I thought he was a contender for man of the match, Jim, personally. I mean, I've actually picked a few out, but Wes Harding I thought was a strong call.
There's no contenders. Wes Harding all the way. Absolutely. You know, it just made such a difference. And Fizz, I don't know whether you noticed as well, he sort of was almost organising the back, where Cooper's the captain and maybe should be sort of doing that, but he was doing a lot of the organising and telling people where to go, almost playing the captain role. Give him the armband as far as I'm concerned. If he's going to do that and organise the defence to the point where Plymouth couldn't get through,
Yeah,
the experience that he had, he just showed.
yeah,
100%. Yeah.
noticed last night actually was that Cooper wasn't that vocal.
No.
Yeah. And you need a vocal captain. You need a captain who's going to be in amongst it, in their faces, put his body on the line. And Cooper does all of that, but he just didn't seem to be that good at organising or that good at doing the vocal stuff, as you quite rightly say. But Harding was absolutely magnificent.
I don't think Cooper's ever really been that kind of player. I mean, I like Jake Cooper. I mean, I'm not here to slag him, but he's not a leader, and I think he's a great assistant in the defence. But he does need someone alongside him. Hutch being the obvious name that we've had for some years, although he's starting to, creak a little bit as Father Time creeps up on him. But I think if Jake Cooper has a manager alongside him, so to speak, he's an improved player. He's not someone that you'd put in charge of the defence, and I think that choice has not done us any favours for a while now, because we look so fragile in defence, but not last night. And I put that down to Wes Harding. Why he's not been picking him, boys, I don't know. This is another Rowett, criticism, isn't it? This stubbornness of team selection.
Yeah, I think he likes Murray Wallace, doesn't he? So when Murray goes in, unless it's almost last resort time, and he stumbled upon a formation that worked pretty well. Yeah, but that's
again. He's like Adam and the ants, and when they jump off the gallows. Which one was that? Was that Stand and Deliver? I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He leaps off the gallows. He stumbled across a formation. I want to talk about the second half, because I've written down at 0-0 that we were holding on, just in brackets. Second half, I thought we looked a lot better, a lot stronger. They had a shot. Bart saved, tipped over the bar from distance, but then that was followed by the goal, Jim, and that was a really, really nice move. The pass through from Watmore to find Zien, I thought, was a thing of beauty. I was looking at it just before we started speaking today. Yeah. Really nice goal.
I want to take credit that goal, because I said to my boy about 5 minutes before that, Plymouth are just going to score at any minute now, aren't they? So I'll take credit. But yeah,
you have it. That one's Jim's. But a beautiful ball straight down the middle, Neil, and I thought that was perfectly weighted. And we've been quick to have a pop at Zian Fleming for not playing to the player that we've seen last season, but he really, really tucked that away nicely. That was done with aplomb. 1-0.
I think we showed Plymouth how you play fast football then. It was a fantastically weighted ball, straight in between two defenders from Duncan Watmore, who I thought ran his bollocks off last night. He did, magnificent for us. Picked up an injury, which hopefully isn't serious, but it was a fantastic ball through, and that was a classy finish. That was. Because it's very easy to sky them over the bar, isn't it? But,
or knock them straight to the keeper.
Yeah.
As well.
But that was just a little dink over the top of the goalkeeper, and then poor old Zion was confronted by me celebrating.
That was his reward, Fizz. That was his reward, mate. Have a big hug off of Fizz listeners, if you can picture that. 1-0 Millwall. After that, Jim, we looked pretty much in control. It was like I said online today, it was like a weight had been lifted off our shoulders. Like suddenly you've been unburdened. We looked much more in control from there onwards.
Yeah, I must admit, I just thought that once we went 1 up, I thought that was it. And he changed the tactics, shut up shop, brought on about 6 more defenders, didn't he? I actually thought once we went 1 up that we weren't going to lose that game. You know, but it was almost a good old-fashioned Millwall performance where you go up 1-0 away from home, shut up shop, and let's get home as quick as possible.
That is Gary Rowett. If anyone out there listening has ever wondered what Gary Rowett dreams about at night, it's that being 1-0 up at a place like Plymouth on a midweek night with as many defenders as he can muster now on the pitch. looking in control, looking to game manage the rest of the match out,
Yeah,
which we
one thing
did.
I did notice about the second half was we were far more physical.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put the foot in. Yeah, we tackled for everything, and I mean everything, even if it was, even if the ball had gone, somebody was flying in, weren't they? Well, it was almost as if somebody had woke them up at half time and told them, look, well, you've got to put your foot in on this lot, they won't like it. And they didn't like it. The crowd started to get on our backs in a woke kind of Plymouth way.
Even Pilgrim Pete stopped giving us abuse as well, so...
Yeah, well, where they start singing "We Always Get Shit" refs will come up to South East London.
Yeah.
They're like week in, week out. But we actually got more physical, and as you say, it was a more typical Millwall performance and everything that encapsulated. Yeah, we were really dogged. We were more physical, and I think
Absolutely.
Yeah, Jake.
And we didn't play hoofball.
No, we didn't.
That as well. Like it was very rare did a long ball go over. It was passing wasn't short, sharp 1-2-1-2, but the passing was a lot less than the let's hoof it and hope that some like the couple of games that I've been to so far this year is what it just seems to be looks like. So,
we've been playing long ball Tom Bradshaw's not been around the last couple of games, but we've been using him as our target man. But I agree with you, Jim. Last night, our passing was, in the second half particularly, was crisper. We kept it on the deck because we've got good players. I mean, again, this is the frustrating thing with Gary Rowett. We've reached this kind of stage of mutual divorce almost. Only for him to stumble into the idea that, hey, we've got good players. If you play the ball on the floor, we've got the likes of Fleming and Denor, another player I want to mention. These are quality players and they can pass the ball, and we were finding men in space. We've mentioned the goal from Zian already, which was a beautiful move down the middle, but also the physicality. If you can marry that together, a bit of skill and a bit of physical, then you're going to be a loved person at the Den, because that's all we want to see. I've noted, just mentioning Wes Harding earlier on, chaps. There's a fantastic challenge. 89 minutes I've noted here. Plymouth were through on a breakthrough, and there was a beautiful challenge, absolutely a thing of beauty by Wes Harding. He took the ball off of the Plymouth player as he was breaking into the box, and took it, away. I thought that was a real quality challenge. I mean, why he's not been playing? We've touched on that already, but that was a moment last night.
That was the moment when you knew we're not going to lose this.
Yeah.
Because
they were just getting a bit ahead of steam there, Jim.
Yeah. Half a second, and that would have been a penalty if he just mistimed that. But that was obviously at the opposite end to where we were. And from there, you could tell it was a fantastic tackle. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. And at that point, you go, we ain't losing this now.
Yeah, but the game changer, I thought, for us winning it was actually them not getting a penalty. They were screaming all day long that Sam should have had.
They showed this on the, obviously showed it on the TV, because I think they thought that their player had made a run through and had been tripped, but he actually fell over himself. I think
he fell over his own feet.
That's right.
I haven't seen the highlights. So
on the fan vlog last because you came home and I wanted to watch the highlights of it, but can't find the highlights. No, you can find the WSL and all kinds of other shit that Sky put up. You want to watch the Millwall goals and they play on Sky's website, and they don't bother telling you anything. Millwall don't put them up. Surprise, surprise, surprise. But I saw a fan vlog, and it looked as if he actually tripped himself up.
He did. He clipped his own heel as he was running through. Through momentum, he clipped his heel, has gone over. But he claims a penalty. The referee, I thought, did a good job last night, Jim, because, many's the referee that would have thought, penalty. But he didn't give that, and I thought that was to his credit.
To be quite honest, he was.
Did you?
Absolutely. Yeah, but he was absolutely. Yeah, well, I came back with the referee, and they were moaning like fuck about him. But to be fair, I thought he was very quick to get his cards out. He couldn't wait to book a few players.
No, that's true. All right, we'll fuck him then. I thought he'd done well not giving that penalty, but anyway.
Yeah, we did well not giving that penalty, but it was littered throughout that he wasn't giving stuff. I don't know if Jim thought.
Yeah, what did he book? Did he book six Millwall players? Did he book last night?
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
We're always going to be picking up cards, Jim. I thought, an away day to Plymouth. We've mentioned their starter player already. I mean, it sounded like a decent atmosphere in there, certainly at the start, and then it got more fraught as it went along. But I just, you're always going to get, if you're going to play a physical style, you're going to pick up bookings. So, to some extent, I take the point. I won't overpraise him. What I do want to praise, though, Jim, is that second goal. That was wonderful. I can't stop watching that clip on Twitter today, Jim. The challenge by Zian on their defender goes flying. It's wonderful.
Forearm smash that they were.
Mick McManus would have been proud of that, surely. There's one for the kids.
One for the kids. You're right. He flattened him. It was a fair challenge, but of course nowadays you see challenges like that penalised.
He was only a small player, yeah, and he didn't half go down like a sack of shit.
We did, yeah.
Honest. Yeah, well, anyone else, Zion would have bounced off him.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where you see them given, and you think,
you do.
Didn't we take advantage of it?
Beautiful cutback by Zian. He runs into the box. Beautiful cutback. You've probably seen it 1,000 times online already, dear listeners, so you won't need me to tell it to you one more time. But placed to Saville, Jim, and the finish was beautiful.
Lovely finish.
I don't think on the wall with the Mona Lisa, that goal. It's wonderful.
Normally as well, because that was the last minute of the stoppage time.
90+7,
Player would have gone to the corner flag and just stood there, wouldn't he? But the way he just went, I'm going to go for goal here, and beautiful finish, little bend around the defender, I think it was, wasn't it? And keeper had no chance because he didn't see it. And cue mad celebrations again, and.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you boys about. I can only picture it being scenes, as they say on the kids say, don't they?
Limbs, as they say.
Limbs.
Mental, to be quite honest.
I can imagine.
I don't think I've done that 5 yards between my seat and that area so quickly in my entire life. It was just brought home to me how much I actually love Millwall last night, and how lucky people are to go and watch them week in, week out. I know I know the football isn't brilliant, and I know that people would like to see Gary Rowett out, but he isn't going to go. Let's be honest about it. Let's be frank. Yeah, we are not going to pay him £2 million to walk out the door. So we've just got to get used to it. But it's a way of... But we've got to somehow come to some understanding with him that we want to see a bit more entertaining football, and we want to see some results, especially at home, because our home form's woeful. He should be sacked for a home form alone, really. But we ain't going to sack him. We've just given him £5 million to spend, which is actually a king's ransom in Millwall terms, isn't it? So we have to accept to be around for a little while longer.
I mean, the secret to Gary Rowett's continued tenure at the Den, Jim, is the second half that we saw last night, because the first half was obviously defensive. I thought we were clinging on slightly. I don't know, opinions will vary on the first half, but that second half is actually all I ask out of a Millwall side, which is full commitment. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. I take that, but as long as we're giving 100% and we're getting the ball forwards to players that at least have half an idea on where the goal is, then that's all I'm looking for.
I think the chant went up in the second half of "We've got our Millwall back." So first half it was
there's no group so fickle as a Millwall fan.
The first half is "We want it," and then the second half "We've got our Millwall back." So imagine like the 600 of us that were down there. Obviously, it ticked a box, didn't it?
Absolutely. Incidentally, you mentioned 606, including you two, of course.
612.
612. It sold 6 on the night.
Did they? I want to take my hat off to everyone that went down there last night. As I said earlier on at the start, it was a fixture I would have loved to have gone to, but couldn't have done it midweek. So hats off to all of those 612 that made it in there last night.
The official coaches, apparently, I was told from the people that I was sat around, they got there 3 hours before kickoff.
Free
So my dad and my dad and my son were on the supporters coach,
Right.
and they rocked up at 5:10. They arrived, and apparently there wasn't a single traffic jam on the motorway. I mean, they left at 10:15.
So I was going to say what time they set off from London.
They left at 10:15, and they said that they just absolutely sailed down the M4, M5. Didn't stop. Stopped at services, but you'd normally expect a traffic jam somewhere on that journey, and they just sailed all the way through. 5:10.
Wow.
But the good thing, Fizz, I don't know, when you go into like the away end, before you go through the turnstiles, you get searched, which I don't care about. But then they had like a burger van there, but they also had a bar selling ciders, beers, IPAs, and you could just stand outside before you even went in the ground. You stand out there and have a few beers and something to eat before you went into the ground, and everyone was like congregating a million
inside the ground as well. Which they're showing. Yeah, well, hopefully somebody from Millwall goes down there and takes a few notes, because it was a perfect away end experience. Right?
It was brilliant. Yeah, absolutely enjoyed it. And at half time, they just opened the doors up, so you didn't have to congregate on the concourses at half time. You went outside, and the bar was open outside. And it was just hospitality at its almost finest for a championship level football.
Can't argue with that, Jim.
No, couldn't. It was really, really quite the way it was done, and everyone was quite friendly, I found.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but then again, but they do pride themselves on being a certain way down there.
Yeah.
It's probably about as far removed from Millwall as you can possibly get in the terms of fans and and
hospitality on site. Fair play to your family for going down on the coach then, Jim. I didn't realise that everyone got there 3 hours beforehand. Wow.
Yeah, so what happened is that when we went and bought our tickets, so we said, can we have 3 tickets for Plymouth? Yeah, 3. And I was going to go on the supporters coach by then because it was the easiest way. And we've only got 2 tickets left on the coach.
Right.
So, you 2 have them and us. So they took my number.
How did you get down there? Was it on the National Express? Or was
I was on the 2 o'clock train from Paddington, which was very civilised.
Yeah.
And then, I was on the 5:30 midnight National Express bus from Plymouth. And I'm staying in Bexley Heath, and I got into my hotel room at 7:45 this morning. So it's Wednesday morning.
That's having come from Perth in Western Australia, listeners, the most remote city in the world.
Yeah, but a phrase that we use quite a lot. But Jim is real wool, isn't he?
Real wool.
I don't know about that, but it was. But it was one of those, you have to do it. I've come. Both of us have come all this way, and we don't want to watch telly and watch football on the telly when we can actually get to these games, regardless of it may be a difficult way. So thank you to Aslep, or it is that was striking. Bravo.
Well done, Jim. Well done, everyone that went down there last night. Well done, Neil Feast for getting around there as well, because you had a bus ride home with a bunch of Plymouth fans, didn't you?
Mate, I got on the bus because obviously I live right outside Plymouth.
Yeah.
I almost live on the next authority over. I'm that far out.
Right.
They were miserable. I just told them to fucking cheer up. Ryan Lowe's T-boy had just been given a tactical masterclass by King Gary, or Hail King Gary. And
oh dear,
unfortunately.
We were building the gallows in the car park last Saturday, listeners, and now I don't know. We've got another game coming up Saturday. We've got to play Hull City. I mean, all joking aside, that result last night lifts a huge weight of pressure off of Gary Rowett. He does need a home performance, though, Neil, doesn't he? He needs something to sustain his momentum.
Yeah, exactly. 6 in 22 is not good enough. He's an absolutely appalling. And I think if he can dog out a couple of results at home and a couple of results away, but this is what he's good at. He's really good with his back against the wall of stumbling upon formats that work, as we've said.
Yeah.
And he somehow gets out of it. He's just so frustrating because we have finished, 3 top 8 finishes in his 3 years?
Yeah, you can't argue with his numbers. Yeah,
Can't argue with his numbers. He's just... Last Saturday was depressing to watch on TV. Off as soon as they scored
yeah.
the second goal.
We just folded, but I mean, last night does. I think we've got to see how we get on Saturday. It offers a glimmer of hope. It offers players. I mean, I'm just. We've mentioned man of the match. I think I agree with everyone. Wes Harding is the only choice in town, but I did write some mentions in dispatches, which we've touched on. Ryan Leonard, Duncan Watmore. I thought Bart did well last night, chaps, and Casper De Noor. I mean, the whole team did okay, but I thought those were standouts from last night. But it does at least have a framework to build on. And if we can bring that second half approach to the Den on Saturday, you're going to find a willing audience. So, I think Gary may have, leapt from the gallows, as we've said a few times.
Yeah, the player that really disappointed me last night, and I was quite looking forward to watching him play, was Joe Bryan. Didn't think he was.
Was he playing?
Yeah,
he was. Yeah, I've not been struck on Alan Campbell, to be honest.
And he has to do something there. You would absolutely love Essay to do something, because he came on for 5-10 minutes,
15, yeah,
and you could see that he wanted the ball. He runs, and we've got
same with Marku as well, chaps. I mean, both of these are hungry boys. I do. I can't remember who said it about the experience of Championship defenders. So you've got to. I get that you've got to use them wisely. They've got to build their own experience of playing against these kinds of players, but they're not going to do that sat on the bench. So I would love to see
a chance, because actually Plymouth's weakness is actually their defenders.
Yeah.
And that would have been a good chance to have given him. You've got to feel sorry for Nisbet, actually. He runs and runs and runs and doesn't seem to see an awful lot of the ball, does he?
It's almost as if no one likes him, because, he's in them spaces and he makes the runs and makes, in them channels, but they're just not spotting it. And but I just go back to Essay and Marku. You obviously have seen a lot more than I have, you two, but where do you see their actual proper positions, from now and in the next couple of years? I mean, are they centre forwards? Are they wingers? Are they I hate to use the phrase number 10s, because I'm old school, but where are they? Where do you think they'll end up playing?
I mean, Watmore did well yesterday, Jim. I thought Watmore did well yesterday. So, but that would be where I would have wanted to have seen Marku play, which is a forwards position, really, isn't it? Alongside Nisbet. SA, I mean, I think he's probably still finding a role. I mean, he is one of these players that's, I don't know if you'd agree with this, Neil, but you can probably put him anywhere in an attacking position. He's going to do his level best to create and to cause problems. I suppose you're probably looking at where Zian Fleming would play, which is just behind the front two, isn't it? That would probably be where Romain Essay might think that he would fit into the team, but he's no vacancy obviously with Zian at the moment. But you can probably play him pretty much anywhere in an attacking mode. But best, I think, would be, which I think is the number 10 that Jim just mentioned.
Yeah, I don't know if Jim noticed it last night, but Romain Essay's actually got a twin brother called Roman Essay. When he came on last night, and I'm going, fucking right.
I'm still jet lagged from my journey home.
Yeah, probably in that kind of position, but that's
just behind the front two.
Yeah, let's be honest about it. If he doesn't go next summer, he will go very, very soon, because he's far too good to be playing in the Championship.
Well, he's part of the England under 19 scene. I imagine that'll be under 21 very, very shortly.
And again, it would probably do him some good to actually spend a couple of years in our first team.
Yeah,
get the experience. Because if somebody like Liverpool was to sign him, they'd only send him out on loan, so you might as well just leave him here for a couple of years.
It did Harry Kane a power of good, Neil, didn't it? To play a few years, or a season for Millwall anyway.
It did.
Just got a selection of some of the comments online. There's so many listeners, I won't go through too many, but just looking at Scott Barnard, who I think he's on the chef on the MasterChef program. Mentioned the challenge from Zian on the 29 for Plymouth. He folded him in half like an ironing board, which I think is quite a nice, turn of phrase there, Scott. Jenko says if there are 10 million Casper de Nor fans, I don't think there are, I am one of them. If there are 10 Casper de Nor fans, I am one of them. If there is one Casper de Nor fan, I am that fan. And if there are no Casper de Nor fans, then I am dead.
I read that.
Poetry. I like that. I like that.
Play.
And
One of the great recent players.
One last one. Shane Todd Slaughter. Great name. Shane Todd Slaughter. If you get Zian to give our goal defender a forearm smash that Mick McManus will be proud of, I'll score a goal for. This was the comment that he thinks that Jules Saville may have. And no place for Jules Saville last night, boys. I mean, he came in obviously to score the goal. Again, maybe that's something that Gary Rowett will dwell on for Saturday's side. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think you'll probably need to make some changes because we're not that good with 3 games in a week. What I couldn't believe was Plymouth actually played Hull on last Saturday, and apparently they flew up there but got the coach back.
Right, did they? That seems like the wrong way round. I'd have done it the other way round, wouldn't you? But anyway,
It seems absolutely mad. But this run of games he's going to have to make some changes for the weekend, I'd have thought. And I'd have thought that George Saville's virtuoso goal performance last night will actually put him in for a start. Yeah,
should be in contention. Why he's not been in contention is the
word I was looking for. Yeah,
speculation online. One last one. I just want to say, well done, Big Paul. He's done like the film Cliffhanger, Jim. He's got, which I think was Sylvester Stallone.
It was.
But anyways, he somehow transposed Gary Rowett's head onto Sly Stallone's body. But it's given it slightly camp kind of quality. It's almost kind of like doing a teapot type pose in this, an avalanche of frills. Gary Rowett's Cliffhanger. So I quite like that.
Hanging on by his fingertips.
Yeah, hang on. You don't have to see it. This is probably not the medium for that particular meme, listeners. You've got to describe it to that extent. Jim, big thank you for coming on the show, mate. You must be exhausted.
Thanks for the invite. It's always a pleasure.
Good to have you on, mate. And keep in touch when you're back home. When do you fly back?
Monday the 16th. So we've got Millwall on Saturday.
Okay.
We've got a couple of other games that we'll be going to, but next Friday at Wembley Stadium, England versus Australia in a friendly international. Wow. So we deliberately just held back going home till after that international game. So
Blue, you're going to support.
And well, we're in the England end fist, but I am technically, I've had the operation and I've got my Aussie passport back, so I'll go. Can I go for a riveting and I'll take the splinters out my arse? 4-4 draw,
4-4 draw. I like that.
Yeah, but that means your house won't get burnt down when you get back.
Good to have you on, mate, and good to have you too, Fizz. Thank you for joining us today. You want the answer to the question that I started the show off with, dear listeners. Anyone who hasn't got this didn't really live in the 80s and 90s, I don't think. This was an Arsenal defender, fullback, steady, solid, played 458 games. Wow, 458 for Arsenal between 88 and 2002. Before that, Stoke City, Bury. And 22 times for the English national team. It was, of course, Match of the Day pundits. Lee Dixon. Anyone who didn't get that is too young for the show. I don't think it's a part of our demographic. You should be listening to other TikTok or YouTube podcasts, not Achtung Millwall, if you didn't get that question. Big thank you to you too, dear listeners, for joining us on the show today. We'll be back at the weekend after the visit of Hull City to the Den. So until the next edition of the show, it's from Jim. Do you want to say Arrivederci Millwall, Jim?
G'day, guys, and welcome and goodbye, and Arrivederci Millwall.
And it's good night from the history big dog himself, Neil Fizz.
Yeah, but there's actually one thing I want to say is...
Oh, go on. Sorry.
How's H today? Because I can't actually look that result so well.
I'll have to edit all this bit out now because we've got to dwell on the whole idea of Millwall fans that want Gary Rowett out, and therefore, do you or should you? Is it morally correct to want us to lose in order to hasten the end of Gary Rowett? Maybe we should hold that off to another edition of the show.
Sounds like an international break special one. That does for you.
Because I don't understand how you want us to lose. But anyway, that's
Well,
I think
say goodbye then.
Goodbye, Neil. Thank you, dear listeners.
Achtung, Millwall.
This is not quite the end of the show, listeners. This is like when bands go off saying thank you, London, and then they come back on again 10 seconds later or 30 seconds or a minute, depending on the volume of applause and the scale of the artist. So no, we actually do have a selection of voicemails sent to me for you. So I'm going to run the jingle, and then we're going to lead off with our first voicemail, which is from Jim Hackett, dear listeners. So we're back very shortly with Jim.
Morning, Nick. Jim Hackett here after a good night of 3 points and everybody being very happy, I think. Positive to take from that last night. Obviously, he was getting the 3 points. I thought more as individuals, I think, than as a team performance. But thankfully had a decent evening where he kept everything out that was fired at him. They did have a couple of shots that went slightly wide that might have given him more problems, but overall he was okay. And the one thing I say about Bart, for whatever reason, his kicking seems to have come on a bundle. So whatever went on with Long has obviously transferred itself onto him. So that's one good thing. And I thought Ryan Leonard again, top draw. We talk about leadership on the field, and he's leading with performance. I don't know how loud he is and how sort of much he gets in players' faces, but he certainly fights for every yard that he can get, and he's a top player. When he went down injured in the second half, I suddenly had this feeling that could be the problem for him, but he got back up and carried on going. So great stuff from Ryan Leonard. And then obviously I think everybody will say about Wes Harding, how has he not had a game up to now, and then when he does get on, he plays like that, and it's even more frustrating that we've thrown games away based on poor defending and lack of pace and poor decision making, and yet last night he had a bit of everything in there. And he made that one fantastic challenge in the box that went out for a corner, but he certainly played up to his position last night, and he was a welcome addition to our back four. As for the rest of them, I think Joe Bryan, again, just he's a 60-minute player at the moment, isn't he? I don't know why he hasn't got more. Maybe it's because of that wing-back position and he's getting slightly older, but he's decent. He's got a pass in him. He's got nice control, but he just runs out of steam. But, I'll take the 60 minutes over what we've had previously. I think one of the bigger issues as the night went on was when he did eventually get replaced and Murray went in there. That was a bit of a surprise to me, because the one thing that Plymouth did have on that side was somebody wanted to take on the fullback. And, Murray, unfortunately, that is his weaker part of his game, where he can't keep up with players who've got any pace or any little tricks. He will get caught out, and he did get caught out towards the end where he gave a stupid foul away because he just couldn't stay with a man. But, if you've got Longman on the bench, why wouldn't he have put him on then instead of Murray? But that might be being churlish, but I suppose it's going through everything with in detail, isn't it, just to satisfy ourselves. Midfield, again, Denor, Campbell did their bit. Denor really does look like a Millwall player, doesn't he? He gets the ball, gives it, likes to put a little bit of bite into his game, and he's looking good for me. And Campbell maybe getting fitter, coming into the game more, but it's just, for me, every now and then there's a little bit of quality missing, but he does make forward runs, so he takes players away and he gets in behind, and a couple of times he did it yesterday, and it was just his touch let him down or his pass let him down, but there's something in there still. And then obviously we come on to the mighty Zian. Really innocuous, I thought, in the first half. He looked not lost, but he looked like a little weaker than he has done, in last season and a lot of this season. And all of a sudden, that one thing where he made his forward movement, got the pass off of Watmore, and then stuck it in the net, and suddenly you could see Zian Fleming sprout out again, and he'd then become a man in a boys' game, because everything else after that, everything he touched, everything he did seemed to have a spring in it, and that challenge at the end. I mean, God knows how he got away with it, but the challenge was something that he hadn't been doing, and if he had been doing it, he'd been pulled up for it. So maybe last night could be the turn of luck that Zian's been looking for, and that we've obviously all been looking for as well. So long may it continue. And then Watmore and Nesbitt up front. I thought Watmore, again, busy, gives a lot of ball away, does things that are a little bit too quick sometimes for what he's trying to do. But then if he can just do that one thing which he did to set up the goal for Fleming, then I think we'd all take that. And Nesbitt I think he's just, at the moment, I think he's just having to do a lot of work for a little reward, but hopefully in time it will come. And, as a group, I think they got away with it last night against Plymouth. I think Plymouth, their sort of front five, flexible, fluid, very tricky, but very individual. And I suppose that is the one thing that stopped them from stomping on us, because, you looked at them individually, they could all beat a man. They're all very bright, all very happy to move all over the place to get on the ball, and not afraid to take a shot or play little 1-2s around the box. The one thing they didn't have was experience, I think, and that will come over time. But, I think they're going to be a team that will damage teams. You can see how they beat Norwich 6-2, because they'll score goals with a lot of their play in the last third. But, we got away with it a couple of times, but at the end of the day, a game of football will turn out that way sometimes. I watched it on the Plymouth Argyle TV, and it was interesting that even though they got beat, and they weren't happy about being beaten by Millwall, obviously, but that the positivity still on the way they played, and they acknowledged, with a little bit more luck, they could have got something out of the game and probably should have won the game. But they certainly didn't slug the players off. They didn't get stuck into them. They acknowledged that they were, just unlucky on the night. And they gave Millwall credit, for digging it through, and that's a good thing. So overall, good 3 points. Obviously, we now get prepared to get the big disappointment on Saturday, and then we'll be back on Sunday, all giving it the right out chant. Okay, so good luck, Millwall. See you Saturday. Bye-bye.
Huge thank you to Jim. Always in depth, Jim, and I like Jim Hackett's contributions to the show. They bring something, some expertise, and I like that. Just talking about Murray, yeah, he does get caught a bit by pace, doesn't he? I think maybe like a lot of our defenders, he looks a little bit creaky. Time is creeping up on Jake, and certainly Sean Hutchinson, even though he's out at the moment. Interesting to see Wes Harding take the field. We've already praised him a lot in the conversation with Jim and Neil, but I thought he did bring some much needed leadership to that back line. So Murray Wallace will always be found out by pace. Big problem, but there we are. The other thing I wanted to mention was Casper De Noor. I saw online today someone mention how he interacts well with fans on Twitter, on social media. I had a quick look at his account, and yeah, he does take time to like messages of support and all this kind of thing. It's nice to see. Message before the game last night from Casper, praising the support, stuff like that. I think he's going to be a real player for us, Casper De Noor, and he seems to have the kind of common touch, if that's the right turn of phrase to use. So big shout out to Casper De Noor, who played very well last night. Onwards with the voice notes, dear listeners. Big thank you to everyone for sending in these voice messages. You can do that via X, Twitter, as I'd still call it. You can send me a direct message, and there's a small squiggly sound line option in the corner of the direct message on Twitter, at Achtung Millwall on Twitter, on X. If you press that squiggly line, then you can speak into the microphone and send a message. If you stop for some reason, you can just send another message, and so it goes. So I appreciate everyone that's sent Twitter messages to me. And on the next subject will be the next couple of messages, which are from Joe Chats in Chicago. Big shout out to Joe and all of our American listeners, actually, as well as Craig Jones, who resides somewhere, it sounds like a wartime broadcast now, somewhere in the western part of England. But leading us off in this little group of messages is the one and only Big Paul, creator of that meme that made me laugh so much, Paul, of Gary Rowett cast as Sylvester Stallone in Cliffhanger. Really like that one, mate. More of the same. So Big Paul, then it's going to be Joe and Craig.
Evening, Bish. Thought I'd message. I won't want to be one of these bods who just messages when we lose. So yeah, fair play. You know what? We'll ask for a bit of blood and thunder, and well, you see from Zian's tackle there, tackle, body slam, whatever you want to call it. It was there. Wes Harding, that's off to him because. And the rest of them, mate, they worked hard. Fair play. When I see the lineup, I said to a few of my pals, I said, we'll win 1-0. I was right, I mean, we won 2-0, but I mean, you just felt like that was Rowett all over there. You know what I mean? He's going to, just when you write him off, I've done it a couple of times already. I should know better. And you think, right, and he does it. I've called it Saturday, it'll be 0-0. Hull at home, 0-0. Let's see. But no, fair play, mate. They worked hard. That's what we want to see from the team. Them working hard like that. You know. Do you know what? We just hope we can see it Saturday at the Den. For fuck's sake. Anyway, have a good evening.
The morning after the night before, with still the little bit of a voice that I have left, that was a good win. That was a good win. Although after the first half, I wasn't so sure, although I was beginning to have kittens through most of the second half when we were 1-0 up. We'll focus on the negatives first. The way that we played in the first half definitely invited Plymouth to come and attack. No, Gary Rowett talks about riding the storm in his post-match interview, but we were just far too compact. We were so closed in the middle, allowing their wingers to just bomb ahead, and at times they gave me kittens whenever they were running straight at Danny Mack, but he seemed to cope pretty well. But yeah, it was hard to watch. A lot of backs to the wall stuff. We had one good chance, but it was pretty much straight at the keeper. But otherwise, yeah, I was fearing the worst when they got that free kick right at the end of the first half. But to what, Bart was fantastic. He pulled off at least 4 brilliant saves from start to finish. But yeah, certainly in terms of us trying to play, the lack of movement, the lack of wing play, being able to stretch and playing too much in the middle or playing in little setups, as if we're in the warm-up, was hard to deal with, and not really knowing what to do. A lot of what more on the ball and trying to turn hit defenders was really, really hard to watch. Now the positives. That reaction in the second half was fantastic. We took advantage of the fact that Plymouth were really blowing halfway through the second half. They looked pretty leggy after probably putting in maximum effort in that first half. And really, we were so positive, so good going forward. And that pass by what to Zian Fleming, where Zian is the best at playing in the middle, was absolute class, including the little dink. And it was refreshing because we started actually using the wing a little bit more. We began to stretch Plymouth a little bit more. It was still at times a little bit dicey, certainly towards the end of the second half when Plymouth got a second wind. But the biggest positive was Wes Harding. What an absolute beast of a performance that was. Barely anything went past him. Every block that he put in, the tracking of their forwards was brilliant. He read the game so well as well. His anticipation, being able to stand, and I would say the whole back line did well with any kind of blocked shots. Again, when they were giving me kittens, I think my mates who were with me could testify to that. But yeah, absolute beast of a performance by Wes. If he doesn't start the next game against Hull, I will be appalled, because he absolutely took this chance with both hands, and that starting position in the middle of the back three is his and only his now. That was the best for us. That and Bart saves and the goals. Good to see Sav get on and scoring a goal. Zian just muscling off that defender at the end was absolute class. And it looked like he had a bit of a nasty streak in him last night in the second half, which was good to see. A bit of a little bit of bullishness by him, which has been needed. That's what we've really needed to see from him, and I can't say any more than that. That was fantastic. Come on, you Lions!
Hello, Joe from Chicago here. What a day. What a win. 2-0 at Plymouth Argyle. I don't know what's wrong with this team, how they can beat this team, and not Swansea at home. That's a different issue, but I'm going to choose to enjoy today. I really hope we don't play with that 5 in the back at home. It won't work. Road teams will come out more aggressively, and Millwall will pay for that. But that's a different discussion for a different day. Really, really loved what I saw from Zian Fleming. Obviously, Duncan Watmore, who I've been giving crap to all year, played probably his best game of the season. Saville coming on at the end and scoring. I don't know why he's not starting, but oh well, we'll deal with that another day. It worked. And Rowett has earned himself another week or so, or at least through the international break. And this team is going to be in competition at all parts of the championship table. I'm excited to see how it goes, but come on, you Lions. That was a nice weekday victory. Cheers. Stay safe, y'all.
What a character Joe is. One of the joys of doing these kinds of shows, listeners, is that you get to meet and hear from and interact with all sorts of people, and thanks to the miracle of the internet, all over the world. I find it endlessly fascinating that people, you listen to the show which I produce here in Beckton, they're listening to it in downtown Chicago or Australia, and the Acast website often presents a map of places where the show has been listened to, and it never ceases to fascinate me that someone in Guam or I don't know, South Korea, or a town in southern India or something has listened to this show, and you just want to reach out to those people. In fact, if you are listening from places like Guam or Bangalore or Bengaluru and wherever else, Ascension Island, get in touch with me. Direct message me on Twitter, on X, dear listeners. Send me a direct message. I'd love to talk to you and find out what the link is with Millwall and why you're listening. These are fascinating things. Big thank you to Joe. Big thank you to Big Paul. I make you right, Paul, about Blood and Thunder. That's what has been missing for some time from the Den. We had a touch of it last season, mate, didn't we, when we played Sheffield United, which is one of the games that really stands out in my recent memory, such as I have a recent memory these days. Because it was, as Gary Rowett disparaged it afterwards, it was Millwall chaos. And that Millwall chaos, and we saw, it wasn't chaos last night, but it was certainly blood and thunder last night. That's why we follow the Lions. That's the whole point of Millwall. Well, it should be the point. Every club should have its own identity, and that should be our identity, and that's what's gone walkabouts in recent times. So, yeah, the blood and thunder and the hard work thing that you mentioned, Paul, I'm 100% with you there, mate. That's precisely why we all follow the Lions through thick and thin. Craig, Wes Harding. We've mentioned Wes Harding already in the conversation with Neil and Jimmy. I want to, just back up what you said there. Where has he been? We saw him at Birmingham. I thought he did very well. And then for reasons best known to Gary Rowett, he hasn't been picked. Pick him Saturday, Gary. Pick him Saturday, mate. Because if you don't pick him Saturday, I shall question your sanity. Anyway, last couple of messages now. Next up, we've got Matt Richards. And then we'll finish off today's show with Angelo Miliotto. So next up is Matt Richards.
Hello, Nick. Matt Richards. Just dialing in my thoughts after yesterday's game. First of all, I didn't go down there. So first of all, well done to everybody. The 600 that went down there. Amazing support. Superb. Really good result. I think it's, I try not to get too upset when we lose. I try not to get too optimistic, excited when we win. And obviously the performances recently, no one's really going to get excited after yesterday. But the real difference is we took our chances. We had 22 shots on Saturday, and we didn't score one. We had something like 7, I think, last night, and we scored 2 goals. It's taking your chances and not making stupid mistakes. We rode our luck last night. We did, and Bart made some really good saves. I don't know if he got enough credit really online yesterday. People were rightly going on about Harding and Watmore and Denore and Fleming and stuff like that, but Bart did really well. But there's no stupid mistakes, and we took our chances. I mean, Plymouth, I think, had 22 shots last night. We had 22 shots last Saturday, and that it shows you the big difference it makes. So I'm not saying this is a corner turn, far from it, because what we need is consistency. And we need to take that forward and take it into Saturday and play, on the front foot and take our chances. That's what we need to do. And once we start building up those results, then confidence continues, and hopefully we'll go on a good run. But yeah, it's good to see. I think confidence is going to be a key as well, and I think it's interesting. And I'm not saying I don't know what the answer is to this, but home form. Why is it? Is it players are just nervous, or not, they lack confidence at home because they're worried about what fans are going to say? I don't know what it is. And players need to be resilient. They get paid a lot of money, but they're human beings at the end of the day, aren't they? And maybe that everything that's going on, maybe that affects players on the pitch. I don't know. So that's why I've always been there to support the team and back them 100%. If people don't like the manager, fair enough, but you've got to get behind the team. Anyway, let's leave it for now, and onwards and upwards. Good result. Let's take it forward. Let's get another 3 points on Saturday. That's what we all want, don't we? Anyway, that's it for me. Cheers, Nick. Come on, your lines.
Hi, Nick. Angelo here, mate. How great a day is the day after when we win, mate. Everyone's positive now, which is good. We just want positivity. Brilliant result, mate. Just want to say well done to the guys. Well done to all the fans that went down there. That is a mission. 606 fans. It's incredible. Super evening. A couple of special mentions. That Watmore, the way he controlled that ball and then slipped it to Fleming was outstanding. Brilliant. Great finish by Fleming. It's like the Fleming of last season. Couple of standout players. Obviously, I thought Watmore was very good. I thought Fleming was better. That tackle from Wes Harding, absolutely fantastic, mate. Another solid performance from Leonard. I'm glad the Millwall fans have found a song for Casper Denore. He's quickly becoming my favourite player. But yeah, all positive, all lovely. Let's hope this continues on Saturday. All right, come on, you lines.
Great stuff from Angelo there. Just to conclude the show, just want to second, I think we've mentioned the fans already that travelled down there. I can't remember if we mentioned the chap from Sydney. I believe Jimmy said that there's another Aussie fan in the crowd at Plymouth, and I believe he said his name is Jake, but I could have that wrong. But he was shown on social media with an Australian flag at the Plymouth game last night. So big shout out if it's Jake. Big shout out Jake if it's not, to that Aussie fan Millwall. But all 612 as I found out that went down there last night. Make you right about the ball from Duncan Watmore, Angelo. It was mentioned it already, but I'll mention it again because it was that good. I've been watching the clips of the 2 goals actually, but particularly that first goal, because that through ball was wonderful and so refreshing after what seemed like we've been stumbling through the Kalahari Desert for some while now, to stumble upon an oasis with Fry's Turkish Delight music and dancing going on there. That's what that ball was like last night for me. That's the kind of imagery that goes through my head, dear listeners, in moments like that. Casper Denore, we've mentioned already, but Seven Nation Army song for Casper de Noor is, up my street. I like it. Good stuff. Much better than Gary Rowett, your football is shit. There we are, dear listeners. That's going to really is the end of today's show. I did a kind of like an encore like they do at the Hammersmith Odeon. Does that still exist? It's the Apollo now. Go off, come back on again when the crowd doesn't stop clapping. So here we are again for a bit more Achtung Millwall. Until next edition of the show, which will be at the weekend, it's Arrivederci Millwall from me, Nick Hart. Bye for now.